Hello BookTube and welcome to another weekly reading vlog. These are the books that I've been working on this week. I'll just introduce them quickly. The Three Kingdoms by Luo Guanzhong. The Mirror in the Light by Hilary Mantel. Leviticus from the Bible, the Jerusalem Bible translation. Teaching Speaking, a Holistic Approach by Christine C.M. Go and Anne Burns. And the Incredible Hulk Epic Collection, Crossroads. So, I'll try and go through these quickly. I know I say that every week, but try and work through these relatively quickly. The Teaching Speaking book, I regret to say I did not make much progress on this. I was right near the end of chapter 2 last week, and I just finished off the remaining pages of chapter 2. So nothing really to report for this week. We'll see if I can make better progress next week. Hilary Mantel, The Mirror in the Light, the third book of the Thomas Cromwell trilogy. This week I read from pages 268 to pages 330. So what is that? About 70 pages, 60 pages. As always with this book, there's a lot of introspection. I'm finding in this third book especially, there's a lot of flashbacks to Thomas Cromwell's early life. I guess we're trying to tie together his beginning with his end, maybe is what we're going for. But the forward plot is moving really slow, so much that I don't have a lot to report. The rebels, the northern rebels, I forget what this particular rebellion was called, but it was the rebellion, the Catholic rebellion in the north against Henry's reforms, have seized some of the key towns. I didn't actually realize, or if I had known this, I'd forgotten, just how big this rebellion was and how much they were able to conquer. So it's been interesting seeing that. But the forward working plot is moving very slow. But from one extreme to the other, we go to the Three Kingdoms, where I read a little over 100 pages, from page 108 to page 224. And this is the complete opposite because, wow, is a lot ever happening in these pages. So much so that I don't even know where I would try to begin if I would to sum it up. Basically, I think where I left off last week is one of the warlords has come in to take control of the emperor. And in response to that, a group has risen up to oppose him. But then within each group, there have been so many divisions and backstabbing and betrayals that they have both kind of spun out into all these webs of different battles. I'm not going to try and summarize all the different events that happened in these 100 pages. I'll see what maybe when I get to the end of volume 1 and I do my kind of volume 1 recap, if I can give a decent summary of it maybe. But I'm not going to try it for this particular weekly reading vlog, other than to say it's been really interesting. I'm in danger of getting overwhelmed by all the strange names, but I am holding on to the narrative so far, so we'll see how this goes. The Book of Leviticus, I read 8 pages this week from page, where was I? 124 in this edition to page 132. So that's from Leviticus 15 up through 22. Now, there's not a lot of interesting stuff happening in Leviticus. It's just a lot of laws. Except there really is a lot of interesting stuff happening in Leviticus because a lot of these are really strange laws. You could talk about that. But I found an interesting rabbit hole that I went down this week that I'd like to share because I think this is interesting. Now, let me preface this by saying, on the whole, I'm trying not to go down too many rabbit holes when I read this. When I was reading through Genesis and Exodus last year, if I found something interesting or if I found something that didn't quite make sense, I would look it up in the online Bible concordances, and I would spend, 10, 15 minutes looking it up and reading the different interpretations, only to really come back around to the conclusion that nobody really knows. So, the commentary on the Bible is endless. But it's also the original text is just so far removed from us in time that all these commentators, a lot of the commentary is guesswork or the commentary is contradicting. I've decided to change my reading approach. I'm just trying to get through the material now and not go down every rabbit hole I can find. But this one is interesting. So it's talking about the Great Day of Atonement. And Aaron, the high priest, is going to offer 2 goats. Excuse me. He is to receive 2 goats for a sacrifice for his sin and a ram for the Holocaust from the community of the sons of Israel. Holocaust means something completely burned by fire, by the way. So I know in the 20th century it has a different meaning. But here it means that the sacrifice is just completely burned up by the fire. After offering the bull as a sacrifice for his own sin and performing the rite of atonement for himself and his family, Aaron takes the 2 goats. He is to draw lots for the 2 goats and allot one to Yahweh, so Yahweh being the name of the Hebrew God, and the other to Azazel. And then there's a little footnote. And the footnote says, Azazel, in ancient Hebrew and Canaanite belief, is a demon of the desert. So Aaron has 2 goats he's going to sacrifice. He draws lots for them. One of them goes to Yahweh, the God of the Israelites, and one of them goes to Azazel, who's a desert demon that was believed by the ancient Hebrews and Canaanites. And I read that, and I thought to myself, I do not remember that at all, because I read through the Bible years ago when I was in 7th grade. I also studied it in Bible school. Now, granted, 7th grade was a long time ago, right? So I've forgotten a lot over the years, but I thought I would have remembered that, right? If there was if the sacrifice was getting split, so some of it goes to God, but some of it goes to this desert demon, like that would have been something that would have stuck in my memory. So I went to the online Bible Gateway to compare the translation with the NIV translation, which is what I grew up with. The version I'm reading here is the Jerusalem Bible. And in the NIV translation, the goat for Azazel is what's called the scapegoat. Now, the scapegoat I remember. I remember reading it. I remember our Bible teacher telling us about it. The scapegoat is a goat in which the sins of Israel were put onto this goat. And then the goat was released forth into the desert as a way of taking away the sins of the nation of Israel. And yes, obviously that's where we get the English word scapegoat from, is this ancient ritual from ancient Israel. So in the NIV, they translated it as a scapegoat, not as a zeal. And there's a footnote in the NIV that said something like the meaning of the original Hebrew is disputed. And I thought, oh, okay, that footnote seems like it could be hiding a bit, huh? Like the meaning of the ancient Hebrew could also be an ancient desert demon. I'm beginning to suspect the more I compare the footnotes in the NIV with what's in the Jerusalem Bible, if there may not be an ideological agenda in the NIV. I mean, why not just say it could also be referring to a desert demon that was believed by the Israelites and Canaanites? But anyways, I went to Wikipedia, and Wikipedia, I mean, I know it's Wikipedia. It's not the most reliable source in the world, but I'm not a scholar, so this is where I go to. From Wikipedia, it sounds like it really is a mystery what this word Azazel means. Apparently, there's some mountains in the regions that are called Azazel. Some people think it refers to a demon or a deity. The L at the end of Azazel, the L there, E-L, is like the one of the words for gods. So nobody really knows what it means. It could mean scapegoat, it could mean the mountains, or it could mean a desert demon. But what is interesting, or I guess what isn't in dispute, is that I guess in Second Temple Judaism, like in Judaism around the time of Jesus, Azazel was widely regarded in Judaism at that time as a fallen angel. Apparently has a prominent role in the Book of Enoch, which is one of the apocryphal books. So I spent, I don't know how long I spent on this rabbit hole, kind of reading about Azazel in Christian and Jewish mythology. It was just an interesting little rabbit hole to go down. So, just goes to show there's always something interesting. So that's my commentary on the Book of Leviticus for this week. And then the Incredible Hulk. This is my comic book reading. This week I read from pages 354 to 402. So about a little less than 50 pages. Of course, comic book pages count differently. But we have finally, this far in the comic book, gotten to Bruce Banner again. He's been subsumed this whole time, subsumed by the Hulk persona, but finally returns to himself, and of course immediately gets captured by the creatures of this world. This is one of the disadvantages of not being the Hulk, is you're more vulnerable. Although Bruce Banner, at this point in his life, just doesn't care anymore. I mean, he's kind of reached the point where he's almost hoping for death. So he's like, if they kill me, at least I'll have release from this Hulk. And then he gets rescued by a mad scientist Scotsman who has been transported to this world, and it's an interesting little story here, and I'm still right in the middle of it. And that's my reading for this week. Under 15 minutes this time. That's short for me. So I'll finish out here, and I will see you next week, BookTube.